Hello and welcome to Supes and Sabers. My name is Jordan, and with me today is Casey McGeorge.
Oh, how's it going, everybody?
I'm trying to think, is this your first time on Supes and Sabers?
I
Because
think so. The
since the
last
rebrand
time,
was
the
Agatha,
last
right?
time was it Agatha? Was it the spy, the one with Samuel L. Jackson?
Oh no. That was a year before Agatha. Yeah, that's how long it's been.
Yeah, it might have been because I haven't. Yeah, because once you rebranded, and then I haven't watched anything really I didn't see Fantastic Four until it was in the theater for a little while. So yeah.
Yeah. So that's going to be one of my questions that we get to here in a little bit of kind of like what you need to catch up on and stuff like that. But for people that don't know, Casey was on here um when we did the rebrand. Before the rebrand, we had a Marvel podcast, a DC podcast, Star Wars podcast, fantasy podcast, and we merged all them into one because frankly it was ridiculous. All right, but I still wanted to talk about all these things. So we still do the same stuff. It's just that you can also find it on one feed. If you're on the DC feed, you can still find all just DC stuff. I still have it separated like that, but we do have a master feed that has everything. And Casey actually kind of kicked us off. It was like my third or fourth episode when we started covering Wandavision
Yeah,
for the podcast.
we did that one. Loved it. Still probably one of my favorite Marvel projects. Um Secret Invasion?
We did that, yeah.
Not so much. That was a thing. That was a show.
We
Uh
liked it more than most, but
it was
we still had
okay.
issues. Yeah,
It was okay. It could have been better. I don't know
yeah,
what.
yeah.
I guess
It started off strong, I would
this is
say,
the
and then
perfect
it
place
kind of
for
fell
the
apart.
Arrested Development gif of I don't know what I expected.
Yeah. But we've had you also on for Loki season 2,
Yes, I did that. I forgot about that.
and we
Man, it's
did
been a while.
Agatha. Yeah, so um, you pop on every so often, and we, especially when it comes to the WandaVision and Agatha stuff. So I'm assuming maybe you'll want to do Vision Quest to
I
tie
wouldn't
that up.
mind. I wouldn't mind doing Vision Quest. Kind of. I think honestly, what we still don't have a date on when that comes out yet, do we?
No, it is sometime this year. I'm assuming it's going to be in around that Agatha time slot of like
October,
August,
November,
September, whatever it
September,
was.
October, whatever.
Yeah, that's
I
my guess.
think I think between this and like Doomsday, that might be the final nail to put the nail in the coffin for the Infinity Saga, most of the Infinity Saga characters at that
Hmm.
point, because well, Spider Man is next year, right? Or is that
Spider
this year?
Man's July. Yeah,
This year? I thought it was next
yeah,
year. But and depending what happens with him, but like other than that, like I, maybe we're skipping ahead. I think a lot of people see a massive reboot coming at some point after Doomsday and what is it, Secret War or whatever it's going
Secret
to be
Wars.
called.
Yep.
I think everyone can see that there's probably, and I think they might have even said that there's probably a reboot coming after that once they kind of finish that. That way, it gives them a chance to integrate the X-Men in and get their own X-Men characters. They don't have to worry about Ian McKellen at 90 something years old and Patrick Stewart. And
Yeah.
no knock against them, they can still
No,
they can
I
still
get
do
it.
things,
Yeah,
but like the fact he is, I think Ian McKellen is in his 80s or 90s, right? Like
yeah, yeah.
legitimately. So like they don't have to worry about, okay, hey, let's get Ian McKellen for this
He's
for
suiting up to be Gandalf again this year.
but yeah, he is. But like, they don't. I think especially with them, they don't want to put themselves in a really weird spot. I'm gonna get dark here for a second. They get Ian McKellen to play Magneto, and he's at 90 something years old, right? And then he passes away because he's in his 90s. And then now, oh, we got to reboot Magneto. Like, how do we
Yeah,
gracefully do this without like causing an uproar or whatever, right? Like, it's one thing when it's Chadwick Boseman and he kind of that happens and there's nothing you can do about it. It's another thing when it's the guy's in his
age.
90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's gonna happen. So that's probably not even, that might be in their thoughts. I don't know. But anyway, I think we can all see there's a reboot coming at some point down the road where all these characters will be new. We'll probably get a new Tony Stark and a new Captain America, a new Thor, and all these other people. So these will be like the swan songs of these. I hate to say
which is
characters, but
interesting. So I want to ask you, I guess, like you. So what movies haven't you seen of the new stuff yet?
okay. So, and this is popping up.
These characters are appearing in in Doomsday, so I want to just kind of like see what I have to maybe catch you up on.
And this is a good time because I think it was like 4 years ago I did my Infinity-thon or my Marvel-a-thon where I watched all.
Yeah, because you bought that box set, right?
Yeah, I have the massive box set that Best Buy put
limited
out. It was
edition.
like $300. It was like $300 or something, and it was because I did it leading up to a WrestleMania a few years back. But I think it was like 4 years ago where I did it. So because I think yesterday or today, I was going through my time hop and it popped up and it was like, oh, we watched a couple. And one of them was like, oh, Thor: Dark World, haven't seen one. And then my next post was like, well, that was a movie. Okay, moving on.
Yeah.
So went through all the Infinity stuff, right? Bam. Spider-Man: Far From Home, was that the one right after?
Far From Home was immediately after, and then No Way Home was after that. Yeah.
Okay, saw Far From Home. Saw Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Actually enjoyed it. Didn't think it was as bad as some people said. WandaVision. Obviously, we talked about Secret Invasion. Loki season 1 and 2. I did see Fantastic Four. I did see.
That's what I don't remember. So we probably texted about it, but you did see F4. Okay.
I did see Fantastic Four. I did see Captain America: Brave New World.
Brave New World. I remember you saying that. Yeah.
I still got. I got.
You haven't seen Thunderbolts?
No. And I'm still getting podcast advertisements for Thunderbolts being on Disney Plus that says it's one of the best Marvel movies ever. I also got one because I guess Fantastic Four is just recently starting to pop up on Disney Plus.
It is pretty recent on there, yeah.
And that's another one. Critics say it's one of the best Marvel movies ever. And I was like, thought it was pretty good. I'm not a critic. I don't know if it was one of the best ever, but it's not really my bag. So who am I to say, right? Because I texted you about the one about Thunderbolts, like, it was one of the best Marvel movies ever because I've seen mixed reviews.
I mean, it's got really good reviews, but like, I've definitely seen people that say Thunderbolts is like top 10. Like, I think my friend Jack thinks it's a top 10 MCU movie, and I've seen people online say that. And while I really like Thunderbolts, I don't have it that high on my list. So, it's very high on my Multiverse Saga list, which I've started creating on Letterboxd to put a ranking there to separate out the sagas as well. But yeah.
So I think some of that could be.
But like Eternals.
Nope.
You saw Wakanda Forever, right?
No, we'll talk about that in a second.
Oh, okay. I thought that was one you saw.
I have it. I bought it, but I have not seen it.
That's what it was. Because I asked you if you needed I had an extra copy sitting around.
So I think part of the reason some people might have enjoyed it, Thunderbolt, so much, having not seen it. The Infinity Saga was such a massive thing, like all 20 or 21 of those movies, whatever it was, such a massive event, right? And you hit the absolute goddamn mountaintop with Infinity Game and Endgame, Infinity War and Endgame, right? Like, there were some great movies in there before. There were some not so good ones. There were some okay ones, but then you culminated this massive event in such a way, right? And then after that, like, it's literally like you're at the top of Everest. All you can do from that point is kind of go down. And this is not to say everything after the Infinity Saga has been bad or garbage. Like I said, I haven't seen all of it. Some of it I've enjoyed. Some of it has been meh. Some of it I just haven't watched. But I think once you hit such a high like that, it between people having fatigue of all the Marvel stuff and DC stuff that's coming out and what everything they're trying to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just like, where do we go from here? It's kind of hard to hit something that is going to be so universally praised, like especially the last two, especially the Infinity Saga and the last two in Endgame and Infinity War. Also, I saw both Spider-Man movies.
Yeah.
Um,
So I guess let's kind of start here then, because you're bringing up interesting points that I think correlate to what we need to talk about with this episode. So for people that don't, I was gonna say for people that don't know, you've probably clicked what episode you're watching, or listening to. But if it automatically played, we are talking.
Somehow the podcast wizards put this in your ears, or on and just started playing from out of nowhere.
Then we're talking about the 4 Doomsday trailers, because I've been trying to get around to those. I did one about the Steve Rogers one, and then Christmas was happening. My one of my co-hosts was sick, who would have done the show. It was
life just happens, man.
Life happens, right? My wife had a procedure. Like, everything has been going on in our lives. But so you asked me yesterday when we were recording our other podcast. This is the 5th podcast I'm recording this weekend, by the way.
Yeah.
So,
I asked you yesterday. I was like, hey, have I missed it? Have you attached it to, because I know also you've changed it to Supes and Sabers.
Right.
I didn't know you try and keep everything like an episode about one particular
right
realm, I guess might be the best way.
Yeah.
Like, this one's going to be not this one, but like you might do an all DC episode, right? You might do one that's all Game of Thrones central oriented, or one all Marvel, right? Which makes sense, hopping back and forth. But I didn't know that, and I was like, hey, have you done these other trailers, or like? And I haven't seen anything about the Spider-Man trailer. I was like, hey, because we talk, and as you put other podcasts out, I do listen to them if it's something that piques my interest. So like, before I saw Fantastic Four, I listened to you guys' spoiler cast about Fantastic Four.
Oh, that's right, you did, yeah.
And I was like, oh, and because didn't I find out you had never been to like an IMAX or like a
yes, that's how you found out. It was that episode. That's how you knew. Yep.
I immediately paused it, and I had to text you.
You text me.
What is going on here? How am I just hearing about this? But
so you asked me that, and I kind of roped you into it, and I said, then you're coming on it, and we're doing it tomorrow night.
I was like, okay, cool.
I've been wanting to do this, and I'd been thinking originally of doing some of these by myself, like I did for the Steve Rogers one, but I'm like, I'd like having to bounce off of somebody too, and I think you're in a very unique position, because a lot of times on the podcast, right, like Ron, Chris, me, we're all kind of caught up and know what's going on, and I kind of like the perspective, especially with what Doomsday is doing, is trying to get people like you and back on board, right? Not that you were ever really far off board. You know more than what some other casual viewers watch, right? But like, they're trying to make the headline. So I wanted to ask you.
I think everyone can say there's been a drop since the Infinity Saga. Like,
right. So
fan wise, there's been a drop. Like, people,
there has
that's kind of fallen.
The box office isn't as high, right? All that kind of stuff. But so I guess, do you remember the Comic-Con announcement of like Robert Downey Jr. being announced? And like, what was your thoughts on that when that happened? And it was also the Russos coming back too. Originally, it was going to be Destin Daniel Cretton, and because going to do Kang Dynasty,
something.
Yeah.
So I remember anybody who has heard me on the Marvel podcast has probably got tired of hearing me say this. I don't know much about the comics, right? I was never big into comic books as a kid, mainly because I couldn't afford them, right? But whatever. Like, I grew up in the 80s.
You couldn't afford them then. You can't afford them now.
Yeah. I wouldn't even doubt it. Like I got friends who are doing some sort of card collecting, like Pokemon card collecting, and that stuff is crazy. So yeah, like I couldn't afford comic books then. I'm pretty sure I couldn't now. The only one I thought about trying to get was like the Death of Superman one, when that came out because they made such a big deal about it.
Oh, I have some of those. Yes.
But this was the 90s and people were like, oh, I'm going to open one and read it and I'm going to buy 9 other copies and keep them sealed so I can cash them in for
and that's part of the reason why comics were in such a bad state and going forward is the bubble burst. Yeah.
So all I get, my only knowledge about what happens in the comics is when I text you and say, hey, so what's up with this? What's going on with this? Right. So came back from Iraq one time. A bunch of us decided to go out to the movies and they were like, oh, we're going to go see Iron Man. I hadn't even heard of Iron Man. Didn't know who he was. I knew who Robert Downey Jr. was, mainly from his troubles and his guest starring stint on Ally McBeal. But I had no clue of
Weird Science, right?
Robert Downey. I honestly didn't recognize that till later. But yes, he was in Weird Science as Robert Downey. He wasn't even junior yet. But I might have heard of the character. I had heard of the song by Black Sabbath and Ozzy Osbourne. That was about it. But I knew nothing of the character. So I was just
You're like, we're going to go see a Cal Ripken movie?
I didn't know anything about it. And we go see Iron Man, and it blew my mind, right? And then they're like, oh, wait, there's something after the credits. I'm like, because credits started, and I went to go get up, and they're like, no, there's another scene. I'm like, who the hell puts a scene after the credits, man? This is like when people got to get up and use the bathroom, and I'm sure the people who work in the theater got mad at Marvel after that because now everybody waits and they can't clean the theater as quick as they used to, right? So then we wait, and then we see Samuel L. Jackson with the whole Avengers Initiative thing, blah, blah. And then they started slowly coming out. I went to go see some of them as they came out. Some of them I didn't. I think I said this before. There's 2 movies ever that I have gone to see in the movie theater twice. One of them was Get Out by Jordan Peele. The other was The Avengers.
Nice.
And the Infinity Saga captured me. I followed along, right? Bam. So Comic-Con, comes and goes, blah, 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 all this stuff. And while I don't follow a lot of that stuff as much as I used to when I was in my 20s, where I would get alerts on my phone or I would just go through and back when G4 TV was a thing and I would get home and watch X-Play and try and see all the stuff that happened. I kind of, as I get older and I'll scroll through Twitter after I get home or the news feeds and just see what happened, what was announced, right? So I get home or I opened up the news feed at some point and I was like, Russo brothers back. Because I remember the whole thing that happened with the Kang Dynasty. Jonathan Majors. Because especially at the end of Loki, we saw that there was a bunch of Kangs, right?
Yeah.
I still haven't seen the other Ant-Man movie. That's another one I haven't seen. But, I saw what happened there. There was a bunch of Kangs in the end of that one, right? So, and every year Marvel does their thing and they lay out the next 15 years of what they're going to do. It gets changed because stuff has to get moved from this point to that point and everything else. But they kind of have a general idea of okay, for the next 15 years, these are the 3 movies a year, the 8 TV shows a year we're doing, and so on and so forth. One of them, as we talked about, was going to be Kang Dynasty, and that he was supposed to be the next big bad for the next couple phases of Marvel movies. Okay, cool. I was kind of intrigued by Kang the Conqueror and what was going to happen from the end of Loki. So I was like, okay, I'm down with this. He had his controversy. Things happen. They have to get rid of. We talked about it before. Hey, what are they going to do? Are they going to recast Kang? Are they going to go in a whole new direction? I think you were one of the first ones who were they might just go to Doctor Doom. Or you might have been one of the first ones I remember saying, well, they might just transition to Doctor Doom. It might be a little easier. Because I think they still had Doom penciled in for something later, even though Kang was earlier.
Well, because so what they were saying is they had Kang Dynasty and then they had Secret Wars. And in the newest Secret Wars, 2015 Secret Wars, there was Doom was a big part of it. So a lot of people were like, okay, are you going to give us Secret Wars without Doom? And it's going to just be Kang in a spot. So it seemed like maybe they were always going to do Doom, maybe for Secret Wars, and then Kang would just be the build up to it. There was a lot of questions about that kind of get alleviated by
just moving Doom up
moving to Doomsday and removing Kang Dynasty.
So
I'm gutted though, honestly, because I really do like Kang as a comic character. and there's some really good Kang stories, but it wasn't working for the general audience, and they had to pivot, as well as having a controversial casting at that point.
So I remember opening up my feed at some point, and they're like, Russo brothers back to direct Avengers movies, and I was like, okay, like, I thought maybe they were done with that, and they were trying to move on to other stuff after Endgame, because let's be realistic, like, what do you do after that? Like, that's your magnum opus. Like, what how do you really top that? Maybe you take a break, maybe you work on some indie smaller projects, but like that's the mountaintop, right? That's winning the gold medal in the Olympics. Like, it kind of doesn't get higher than that. But I saw, hey, Russo brothers back. Okay, cool. Robert Downey Jr. back. I just saw Robert Downey Jr. back, and I was like, what? As Doctor Doom. And I was like, wait, what is going on here? Like, and then I had to watch the videos, obviously, of the stuff they put out where he came out, pulled the mask off, had his little thing, and I was like, okay, don't know what this is, how this works.
Yeah, and you know what? I just want to plug this here. I think it's on it might be, since it's before the rebrand, it might be on our Marvel channel that's still active, but I might re-upload it around Comic-Con time again on this feed on the YouTube channel, because we did a live stream, Chris, Ron, and I, of the Comic-Con panel, because they were streaming it, and we did a live reaction, and we kind of, got to experience that moment live and react to it. And I also put up an edited version of the video where I cut down and only, upload it just the big news stuff, like the Robert Downey Jr. stuff.
I know some people were not a fan of Robert Downey Jr. coming back. I mean, let's be real.
Yeah, some people on my stream were not. Yeah.
I mean, I heard it directly. I've told the story before. I heard it directly from Stan Lee's mouth. I went to an event where he was at, and he snuck up on us at 80-something years old because he was a military vet. It was a military veterans thing. He snuck up on us, and he got this massive applause because he's goddamn Stan Lee, and rightfully so. He should. And one of the people asked him, like, who has done the best job as one of your characters? And he flat out said, nobody will ever really be able to play Tony Stark the way Robert Downey Jr. does. And he said him and Robert Downey Jr. had this kind of heart-to-heart one day where the story's been put out like Robert Downey Jr. was not in the best place. He had a lot of controversy. He actually spent a year in prison out here in Southern California for some of his drug charges and things. And he was in a very dark place and was thinking about ending it because a lot of places weren't willing to insure him to continue acting. Like, it was very difficult for him to find work, but they took a chance on him for Iron Man, and it worked out. He thanked Stan Lee, even though Stan Lee had nothing to do with that aspect. Told him, hey, this kind of gave me new purpose and pulled me out of a dark place. And Stan Lee said himself, he thanked him because he's like, you were kind of what I envisioned and how I envisioned Tony Stark when we made this character. So I was a little torn because he had a sad but perfect ending. Cap made the comment of early in the Avengers, like, he wouldn't be the guy to lay it on the line when the chips were down, and he did. That went full circle. He did. And, he lost his life, and we had that funeral moment, and everything was great. It was a perfect ending, right? Bam. But now he's back, and then everyone starts wondering, is he, because they opened up the multiverse aspect, so is this a Tony Stark variant from somewhere else on the multiverse, or
right, that becomes Doctor Doom or something?
I don't know. Like I said, I have no clue. I'll be honest, I didn't even know Doctor Doom was from another country. Because
Latveria.
The last thing I remember, and I don't remember it very well, was the original, or not the original, the second Fantastic Four that came out in the early 2000s with Jessica Alba.
Yes, the O5.
The only thing I really remember about that was the guy who played Doctor Doom was one of the guys from Nip Tuck.
Yes. Yep.
That's it. Like I don't know.
Yep.
I didn't know he was supposed to be from another country. I don't know. I just remember he was one of the guys from Nip Tuck. And I think that guy might have just passed away.
He did. Yeah.
So
in the last year, I think it was either
in the last year and a half, something like that. Like,
yeah. So, yeah, there was a lot of confliction in people about, okay, he's coming back. This time is a different role. So we get to the first Doomsday trailer, and
so
it leaked beforehand.
I was gonna say before we talk about the trailers, there had been the leaks that were coming out for weeks about, hey, they're gonna do this weird thing, and they're gonna there's like 4 or 5 different trailers, and they're gonna attach one every week
each week
to Avatar, right? Which I don't know if that's something that maybe they struck a deal with them, because I think I remember we talked about this before. Star Wars Episode 1, the first trailers were attached to Meet Joe Black. Decent movie, I guess. Brad Pitt plays like Death. And like that person, they just did the one trailer, but that weekend it had this massive opening because all the Star Wars fans went to go see it so they could watch the first Star Wars Episode 1 trailer and then booked it out as soon as the trailer was off. Most of them didn't even watch the movie. So I wonder if there was some
Avatar's distributed by Disney now since they bought Fox. So
it's a corporate synergy thing.
Yeah, it was a corporate synergy thing. Yeah. But you're right. Okay, then we also had the chair announcement that was almost a year ago exactly last week, where they did the long stream every 15 minutes or whatever. A new chair is unveiled.
Was it over like a day and a half or something like that? Or
no, it wasn't that long. It was hours though. It was hours, but
like 12 hours or something like that, because they did
less than that. I think it was 5 to 8 hours. I want to say 5 to 8 hours because I watched it the whole day. Like, it was one of those things where I'm working from home. I had it up on the screen and I'd be working. And then once they would do a little cue, a musical cue that would
like a countdown.
It would be like it would start playing like a little theme of the character they're about to unveil. And if you know the themes well enough, you're like, oh, that sounds like one of the Wakandans. And you would look up and you'd be like, Shuri. Okay. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. So you could like have it on as background. There's a lot of people that were complaining about it because they're like, I can't just sit all day. Like, do other stuff. And then when you hear the jingle, look at what name's coming up. And then you can go back to doing whatever chore, work, whatever you're doing. I had a blast with the chair reveal, but
because didn't they even do like a tiny one for Ant-Man or something?
Yes, for Paul Rudd. Yeah, they did a little tiny chair. But yeah, so then in there was no Chris Evans' name. He had been reported by earlier, I think it was like December of 24.
He's coming back.
Variety said he's coming back, but then he wasn't in the chair. So people were kind of confused
all the time too, of like, oh, they're gonna bring back this person. Yeah. They're gonna, and obviously sometimes it's true, sometimes it's not. But at some point, you're like, kind of rightfully so. Like, can we move on from these other to some of these other characters? Like, look, not saying I don't want to see Cap, right? But like, he had his swan song. He got to go back in time after he gave the Infinity Stones back and have his life with Peggy, right? And he's the, there's a meme with the goddamn guy now of like, the old man Steve Rogers sitting there.
Yeah.
No,
Joe Biden.
No, I don't think I will. Right. But like, okay. But he had his happy end. He had his life and his happy ending, which I don't know, it kind of messes up our timeline, but that's a whole separate, I don't know how that works because there's a whole multiverse thing and it messes up our timeline that we're in. Whatever. I overthink things. We're not going to go on that. But
so they try to they try to save that reveal for this trailer. This trailer leaked beforehand. Did you hear about the leak before it, or did you just see the official trailer?
I did, because it came out online, and I'm the kind of person who I don't like. Okay, I don't want someone to just randomly blab spoilers to me. Right? That's not
Hmm.
cool.
Hmm.
But if I'm online and you give me a chance and it says like spoilers incoming, or like don't read past this point because you will be like, if you make it every, you give me every opportunity to turn away and I still choose to see the spoiler, that's on me, right? Like I made that choice. So that happened and I was like, why not? Like, let me see what this is all about. Because for a while there was thoughts that maybe this trailer wasn't even legitimate. Like, especially this is about the time AI was starting to really kind
Yes,
of
there
pick
were
up.
some questions
So
with
they were
that.
like, this might not even be real. Oh, this is AI. This don't. I remember seeing stuff online. This is not a real trailer. Don't believe it. This is some AI slop that people are putting out trying to confuse everybody. And come to find out, it was actually the real trailer.
Yeah, so we just rewatched it, right? I rewatched all of these before we got on. So what is your? It's a small trailer. It's just
Yeah,
kind
each
of
of them are like a minute and a half. Not much.
yeah. It's
Does
showing Steve coming back from his bike. He looks at his old uniform. He's holding a newborn. It's in that time period. It's that house that we ended on Endgame.
so
And it says
okay.
Steve
Is
Rogers will
is
return.
this in like the 60s or 70s or something? Because
I think he
in
went
our
back to the
time,
40s.
but what I'm saying is like in our timeline, he's old man Steve Rogers. Like I
Mhm.
wasn't trying to bring this back up. So is this? I guess are we getting like a flashback to a Steve Rogers after he came back from World War II, or
No, so this is how I see it going. All right. Because of the way that time travel works in the MCU, like they say in the Endgame movie, right? It's not like Back to the Future where you can go back and change stuff. So they're technically going through the quantum realm and it's taking them to technically like alternate universes that
yeah?
play out the same way. Like once they go in that world, it's a branched timeline, okay? And we kind of see that in Loki. So my thought is he goes back in time to put them all back, but we also see at the end of Endgame he's with Peggy. He's getting his dance that they've always been wanting to have. And he's going to live out his days there. And then at some point he goes back into our timeline and date and is the old man because he still had probably enough Pym particles to
Yeah,
go for one more trip.
that's what I was curious about too. Like,
Yeah.
because I know it was relying on this other stuff.
So my thought is the way that this is going to kick off, and there's some rumors about it, but us showing this, I think is going to be that he is living his life out there, and maybe it is disrupting something that maybe Doctor Doom wants to go and correct, or
The TVA is it has
yeah,
to.
something creeps up where they're like, you really shouldn't be here, and he kind of has to rejoin the fight um for this. He kind of gets pulled back into it. Now the question will be, do they ever acknowledge throughout Secret Wars and Doomsday that like does this Steve Rogers then have to survive to then go in the future and still give the shield to Sam, or is that like going to be like maybe this is even another branch? Like that's where it's going to get a little convoluted. So I wonder if they'll even acknowledge it or if they'll just let it go, but we'll see.
So do you think the child he's holding is his kid?
I do. I think him and Peggy will have a kid, and he'll be kind of trying to move forward in this alternate world, having his happiness.
Okay, so two questions with that. Number one, does that kid have any sort of serum like powers because he's Steve Rogers'
Yeah,
kid?
that's a good question.
No, like I don't know in the comics if there is something like this that happened and then his kid later became Captain America. I don't know. Number two, dude, it's got to be a rough life if you're Steve Rogers' kid. Like you talk about some of these people who have a lot to live up to, and it doesn't
Oh yeah,
always work out to them, like work out for them. Bronny James, LeBron James's kid, right?
Right, right, right.
Michael Jordan's kid. Some athletes' kids come out better. Steph Curry from Del Curry, right?
Mhm.
We're starting to see that in Major League Baseball now, where you got
Vladdy
Tatis
Jr.
Jr., Vlad Guerrero Jr., a couple of these other ones, right? But I can't imagine being Steve Rogers' kid
Yeah,
because, like,
a lot to live up to.
because at some point down the road, it's still kind of fresh from World War II. So by the time he's 8, 9 years old, he's in school, right?
Yeah,
I don't know his name. We'll call him Joe. Joe Rogers. Are you in relation to Steve Rogers? That's my dad.
right.
Like, or like there's a parent teacher conference and they're waiting for parents to come in to go talk to their teachers about, not saying this kid's doing bad in school, but just that, hey, this is what's going to happen during the school year, blah blah blah.
Right, right,
Goddamn Captain America walks in the door. Your parent teacher conference is now over. Like you can't maintain control of that parent teacher conference from that point,
right.
because Captain America just walked in the door. Like, what happens if maybe your kid gets in trouble and Captain America goes to see the principal? What can you do? I don't know. I'm going off on a tangent here, but I would not want to be Steve Rogers' kid, is what I'm saying. I
Yeah,
do like, part of me likes the slowed down remix Avengers theme
yeah, me
because
too.
it's
I like it.
recognizable enough for you to be like, I know what that is. Like, even if you're not watching it, and for someone like us, you hear that theme, that's the Avengers. Like that's become iconic enough. But I'm not really sure how I feel about it, because part of me is like, it's okay, but I don't know, like, kind of messing with a classic there, even though it's only like 15 years old now. But
Yeah, Alan Silvestri, one of the most, I would say, underrated of the composers. Feels like everybody is always talking about Zimmer and John Williams recently and stuff like that, but like Silvestri did Back to the Future. He has the Avenger movies. Like he's had some very memorable themes in his
look,
time.
who'd you say, Zimmer, and who was the other guy? John Williams.
John Williams. Yeah,
Okay,
I mean, obviously
look,
you can't.
if you're coming in third to Zimmer and John Williams, like, there's absolutely no shame in that, because,
Yeah, yeah.
like, let's be realistic. Like, nobody's beating, like,
I'll be
not,
controversial. Maybe I'll say Silvestri is second for me.
look,
I'm not as big on Zimmer, but I would go John Williams then Silvestri. When we're talking about like the classic, Michael Giacchino is one of my favorite composers too. He does a lot of good stuff.
one thing I like with all four of these trailers, they didn't show a lot. It's literally just like a minute and a half. Like you said, Steve gets off his motorcycle. He's looking at his uniform. He's holding the baby, and that's it. Steve Rogers will return in Avengers Doomsday. And then we get the Doomsday countdown clock.
Yep.
Do you know that's still going?
Yeah, they have it on their YouTube, don't they?
Yes, I had to look that up before we got on here, because I was like, so when these were
how many
released,
people are watching it right now? Hold on, let me pull that up. Let me see how many people are watching it right now.
So like when it was released and I saw the trailer, I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. And then I was like literally just now, I was like, I wonder if that clock is still going somewhere. And yeah, like they have a live stream of this countdown clock, and I'm like, bravo, Marvel, bravo.
Yeah, they're
played,
live right now.
There was a hefty chat going on at the time when I clicked on
130 people watching at 10 p.m. Eastern. That's not a lot, but it's also like that's kind of a lot when it's just counting down to December 18th. That 130 people are wasting their time like, let's put that on.
But not only that, but there's a chat going on the side, and people are engaging with each other. So that's pretty cool. Like I said, didn't give us much. We don't know what's going on. We just know Steve's coming back. Okay, cool. I'm down for it. I'll ask that question at the end, but let's go into the next one.
Thor will return was the second trailer, which I don't think we were shocked by. He was a name on the chair. Have you seen Thor: Love and Thunder?
No.
Okay, so that'll be important for it because it shows this kid that he's with here that they play a role in Love and Thunder,
and that's his child, right?
I kind of forget, but I think it was technically like he just takes her in. I don't think it's his real child.
Okay. Um. So you know what? I was gonna say it for later. I'm gonna ask it now. So one of the things we see is Thor kind of on his knee in his field. He looks like he's got some tears that have been coming down his face, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's asking for power from the All Father because he's served in all these great ways, and
Yeah,
he's got to go off to fight one last battle.
to make it like safer for his daughter.
Do you think this is the end for some of our favorite Avengers as far as like Thor and Captain America? It is Doctor Doom that big of a villain where he could pull that off, where he could end the life of someone like a Captain America or a Thor?
Yeah, there's a very famous comic panel that I wouldn't be shocked if they do a version of. So in Secret Wars, he becomes like God Emperor Doom. He gets, stronger, more power, and he kills Thanos no problem. So they could do a scene like that to kind of really show the people watching, like, this guy's no joke.
Oh, like a Thanos variant as he's trying to collect
Yeah,
Infinity
yeah.
Stones.
They could do something like that. Or, he'll just maybe take out some of our big players that make you think, oh, okay, like this
Because
guy's for real.
once
Kind of like how
again,
Thanos put a smackdown on Hulk at the beginning of Infinity War, and you're like, okay, this guy's real. Like, this guy's a real threat.
so like you said, they had 27 chairs out for different characters that are going to be
Mhm.
in this movie. And I know some of the cast members have come out and said that like a lot of these are not like just cameos of like, hey, oh look, it's so and so,
Yeah, yeah.
and he has like a 2-second conversation with like Bruce Banner, and then he goes off, and we never see that character again. Or at least what they're telling us apparently is that these guys actually, like, all of these characters are integral in various ways to whatever story that they're going to tell in this movie, right?
Right. Obviously, there's going to be characters that are going to have way less screen time than the others. But what I would say is go back and watch something like Infinity War and really just count how long some of those characters are on the screen, because some of them are not on there long, but they play integral roles in Infinity War. And I think it's going to be kind of like that, right? Like, I don't think I can say anybody in Infinity War is like a cameo. They all have a role and they all have a purpose that they are trying to do in the story. So and with it being one of the same writers of that movie, as well as the same directors, and they
And
always said they would come back for Secret Wars if offered. I feel like there's actually, it's not just like a check for them. There's passion behind the story they're telling, and their legacy is on the line. They haven't been doing well outside of Marvel. Marvel's been struggling without them.
what have they
And
done
this
outside of
marriage,
Marvel, honestly? Because I don't know what they've
a lot of
done.
Netflix stuff, that like the Gray Man, Electric State. I don't know. There's like movies. One of them has Chris Pratt. One of them has Chris Evans. Like they've been having a lot of the same people in it, but like they haven't been reviewed well.
Are they doing
I haven't
separate?
seen. I
Are they
haven't seen
doing?
any of them, so
Are
I
they
don't.
doing
I don't.
separate movies? Or are they still working as a team together?
Still as a team.
Okay. Um, I would I just I when I watched it this last time before we recorded this, and I watched it really up close, and I wanted to, though, like I didn't take notes, but like I wanted to pay attention,
Right.
and that's when I noticed like Thor looks like he was crying, so it looks like he's probably he's
We either
gonna go.
lost somebody or it's just like,
He knows this might be it.
yeah.
Like maybe, obviously, he knows what he had to deal with Thanos, and he went through his little depression. We had Dad Bod Thor that came back, right, and then he was able to, kill Thanos later, but then we had to go back and fight him again for the third time, right? Okay, cool. So he knows like how serious some of these things can be, not to mention his fight with Hela and so on and so forth. But now you're looking at, maybe he realizes like this is it, like this might be his, like he might have a inkling of fear that he didn't have before, and maybe that's why he's praying in this one and asking for the help that he is.
And I think if we want to even tie it into Infinity War and Endgame, he had a journey in that where he was cocky, he came in to save the day, doesn't go for the head, still lets Thanos get a snap off, and it messes with him. Where
Yeah.
I could see that if he's like up against another threat like that again, where it's maybe shaking him, where he's like, I can't mess up again this
Yeah, I
time.
can't let this
Like,
happen again.
please help me, type of thing. So I kind of like that too. If we're like extending his arc a bit from there.
Haven't seen Guardians 3, so I don't know what kind of wacky adventures he went on in Guardians 3 with them, or if he was
He
even.
didn't at all. He didn't at all.
He wasn't in
They
it?
actually they tie that up in the new Thor movie.
Oh, okay.
So the Guardians appear in Thor, and then they separate from there.
Which one came out first? I can't remember.
Thor.
Okay, well then that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. The X-Men will return. This is an interesting trailer because these were the shock names on the chair announcement. Because you're like, I forget which one appeared first. I think it was
Was it Marsters? Or was it McKellen?
It was Patrick Stewart, I think, that first appeared on the
Now
trailer.
was this?
And you're like, whoa.
But this was also after he appeared as Professor X in Multiverse of Madness, right?
Right. So it was a shock, but you were also like, okay, he's been back before, so maybe it's not as much of a shock. When the next name I think was Ian McKellen, that you're like, oh, okay, they're really doing it. And then later on you get James Marsden, and you're getting was it Rebecca Romaine? You know that you're getting these names of
the original
other
X-Men that came out in like the late 90s, early 2000s or whatever.
So my question with you, what's your experience with the X-Men movies from Fox? Like, did you see any of them? How did this trailer land for you as somebody that, like, they're not part of the MCU, but they're older movies, kind of like a Toby returning type thing?
I saw the first two. I have the first two on DVD. I probably should get the rest, but it was one of those.
Continuity is a mess as well.
That's part of it. The first one I thought was great. We didn't get a lot of comic book movies at the time. You had your Supermans, your Batmans, stuff like that. You didn't get a ton of stuff, right? I never watched the X-Men cartoon as a kid, so I knew who Wolverine was, but that was about it. Then they came out with the movie, right? And it people went ballistic over it. It was a big hit. And I went to go see it. Plus, it had Halle Berry in it. So right there, you hooked me in, right? Enjoyed it. X2 or whatever it's called. I think it was X2.
X2, yeah.
It was like, okay. Then what was the next one? The Last Stand?
Last Stand, yeah.
I think I saw the reviews on that one. Weren't that good? And
no, it's not a great one.
But I kind of saw like everything was going downhill from the first one, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, like I said, The Last Stand. And then they started doing some weird stuff. There was a hiatus, and then they did.
Well, they did the Wolverine. They did like a Wolverine Origins. They did the Wolverine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then they did
Days of Future
First
Past.
Class.
First Class.
Days of Future Past. Yeah.
And now they're hopping back and forth between timelines and stuff.
I'll tell you though, Days of Future Past, what you could do if you really want to, if you want before Doomsday comes out, I would say watch X1, X2, and then do like First Class and then Days of Future Past. Those are the best X-Men movies. Because Days of Future Past is just a cool movie anyway. But I say that because also there's time travel in it. You know how I feel about time travel. So there you go. But
also, yeah, there's some time travel shenanigans in there, and they're moving timelines, and there's an old Professor X and a young Professor X, and an old Magneto and a young Magneto, and different. And I was just like, if you haven't, like, the last one I saw was X2. I missed everything in between. So at that point, it was like, I think I'm just going to skip these. I wasn't a big comic book fan anyway. I think I got my fill out of it. They got their money from me, and we're going to move on. But I know ever since Disney bought Fox, that was one of the big questions everyone had is, when are we going to get the X-Men in the MCU? When are we going to get the X-Men in the MCU? And we got a little bit of it with
Deadpool and Wolverine.
Deadpool and Wolverine, and a tiny smidge with Wanda and Pietro in there,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yep.
Like just a tiny smidge, like these are, you know, and then they, for some of you guys that you really loved it, they gave you a little more. They stuck it in a little more, where they were like, let's bring the guy who plays Quicksilver back for WandaVision. And everybody was like, what is going on here? And I'm watching WandaVision like, I don't know what's going on.
Yes.
And everybody's like, oh my God, he's back. And then we find out it's not who we think it is. But the fact that they were able to do that tongue-in-cheek enough because they knew it would get people talking was like, you sneaky dogs, you.
Yeah.
So I don't know where everything ended with the X-Men, right? I don't know what is considered continuity, what's not considered.
Neither do they. I mean, it's a mess. I mean, it really. So like, the weirdest part about it is once they reboot and they do First Class, they set it in the 60s. It's really cool. It's a good movie. Days of Future Past takes place in the 70s, but like, it's still James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender. And then Dark Phoenix takes place in the 90s, and it's still, or Apocalypse takes place in the 90s, and it's still, you know, James McAvoy, Michael Fassbender as those roles, and you're like, well, we're approaching how they're supposed to look like Ian McKellen.
And they're supposed to be the old people now, right? So like, why are they not the old people?
It didn't really make any sense. They could have just set them all in the 60s and 70s, and then
maybe the 80s and called it a day, but no.
Right. But
so
so we'll see what they consider. It may not even. What I would assume is that they're going to ignore Last Stand because it's hated so much, and that this world that they go to could potentially be the same world as X1 and X2. Because X3 killed off Cyclops, so that they're definitely avoiding that. But Days of Future Past fixes that, actually.
We do see really old man Patrick Stewart and he's Ian McKellen, right?
Yeah.
So they're not like it's at least somewhat common modern times, right? Like it's not. I mean, they could definitely do some go back in the past stuff and some de-aging things because they've done it before. I don't know,
but they don't look like it in this trailer. You know,
I know,
and it's the school is kind of like ruined, and it has like the Xavier School of, you know, for gifted children on the plaque on the floor, and you know, you have Ian McKellen talking this line about, you know, there's really like no way to avoid death, but it's about, you know, who you are when you close your eyes. And we see them kind of exchange. It seems like, you know, they've had that relationship where they're friends, they're foes, they're friends, they're foes.
Yeah.
And it seems like maybe they're friends here. And then we get to see James Marsden as Cyclops rip off his visor and unleash a huge blast. And that's the trailer.
This, to me, is the perfect opportunity for them to kind of, not in a bad way, but kill off the X-Men before they reboot it and bring their own version of who they're going to cast for Wolverine and who they're going to cast for Professor S and Magneto. Like, between, I'd say Doomsday and maybe Secret Wars, but this is a perfect opportunity to be like, okay, look, we got to wipe the slate clean. So 98% of you people are going to die. Sorry, but that's what we got to do. Because like you said, everything outside of the MCU and even in some of the MCU is just a mess. The only way to fix that is literally to just start fresh. And this might be their way of doing that. So this could be a situation where we see Magneto and Professor X kind of holding hands and like exchanging a smile with each other in this trailer. This could be like one of those, like, and like you said, they're talking about death. For Magneto, maybe like they realize like, hey, they've lived a long life. Their time has come. There's not much else they can do in whatever circumstances they're in, but they're going to go out as friends and they're going to embrace each other and welcome whatever happens next in their life or in life in general. So.
And then we have the last trailer of Doomsday, the Wakandans and Fantastic Four will return. So this one kind of starts with Shuri and M'Baku, and we get to see Namor's people as well, who is going to be in this movie. So you haven't seen Wakanda Forever. I feel like
No,
that's got to move near the top of your list coming up.
it probably should, but I'm not gonna lie, it's gonna be a difficult watch for me.
Maybe I'll pick it for our podcast.
Just because of the whole losing Chadwick Boseman thing.
Yeah.
How we did and when we did. That's one of those where, man, that it's hard to explain, but that movie was something.
Yeah. It was a movement, right? It was very, like, it had a whole different, like, I could never probably feel the same way that like you feel about it, but like you could see it in how it moved people, and was a phenomenon.
There was a great video I watched a while back. I can't remember who put it out, but it was a thing where people, it was probably from Variety or I don't know, but they had people come up and they had like the posters and the banners for Black Panther, right? And it's all these people talking about what it means to them. What they don't know is Chadwick Boseman is behind.
Oh, I've seen that. Yeah.
Right? So, and funniest thing is one of the guys is like, oh man, it was so great. I had to go buy a bootleg copy, blah, blah, blah. And Chadwick came out, he's like, why you gotta bootleg my movies, man? But it was one of those things, like, it was so great to see.
Yeah.
I know I gotta watch it eventually. I'm sure I'll get around to it, but just because I think that's probably definitely going to be one of the ones necessary going into this, because I'm sure there's going to be things people I don't know. The only thing I really got out of this trailer is the fact that we see the Thing on Earth 616, I guess.
Yeah. So this might be controversial. I think this is my favorite of the 4 trailers. And the reason I say, obviously the X-Men one gives me great stuff because I love Cyclops. I love James Marsden as Cyclops. So seeing him like go full rip off the visor, unleash a blast is cool. Thor, it's like, okay, we're getting some stakes in that one. Steve Rogers, I love Captain America. He's back. But this one, I think, gave me the most like faith in the movie, because this feels like Infinity War to me. And what I mean by that is I got the same feeling after seeing the Wakandans and Ben Grimm interact than when like we got to finally see the Guardians interact with the Earth crew, in Infinity War. You're like, oh my God, these worlds are like, they're actually meeting. And that's kind of what I got with this one. And I loved Fantastic Four First Steps, and I'm really excited to see them interact with our normal people, and seeing that in a trailer, like, okay, they're already here. They're interacting. Like, this movie's going to probably be moving pretty quick.
Okay, so I like I said, I went to go see it, but it was a while ago. The movie's been out for what, like a year now, or close to a year?
July, right? Yeah, July.
So I know one of the post credit scenes, like 9, I think.
Yeah. Wow.
So I know one of the post credit scenes obviously had after they defeat Galactus. Yeah, it's Doom there with their son, which apparently was actually Robert Downey Jr. or that's what
they say. I don't know if you're paying Robert Downey Jr. to do that when you can use a stand-in, but regardless, that's what they say.
I mean, maybe he was around. Maybe he was. Look, maybe it's one of those things where he's trying to get in the character. I don't know, but it was a Rebecca. What's her name? Rebecca.
No, Vanessa Kirby.
Vanessa Kirby said it was. I have no reason to doubt her. I don't think she would lie about something like that, unless
Yeah, I think I saw the director say it was him too. That's where I saw it. So
I think I saw
maybe it
Vanessa
was.
Kirby say it. Um, maybe I don't know, but they defeat Galactus. The last I knew, they were still on their planet in their timeline, right? Which is kind of like Star Wars, a long time ago in a galaxy or a universe.
Well, yeah,
far,
it's like
far
in the
away.
'60s on a different Earth.
And
838.
it's completely
Was
different
it
because the
838?
atomic age or something has been changed because of the technology they have. But so it's completely different Earth from Earth 616, and it's not even it's a completely different timeline. So like we have to get them from their 1960s to our current Earth 616 time. Like
Well, I mean, I had 828, Earth 828. I had to look it up. I was wrong on 838. 838 is the Doctor Strange one they go to. There is a hint on how this happens in the Thunderbolts post credit. So when you watch Thunderbolts, you'll kind of have some idea on how they're getting here.
I think I remember because doesn't one of them pop up? I don't know.
It's pretty much like the Thunderbolts post credit scene is the Fantastic Four ship entering our atmosphere. So, you know,
Okay, yeah, I
that's
think I do remember hearing and seeing that.
yeah. Yeah, everybody was posting like screenshots of it. So
yeah, but I mean, still, that's still like years and decades, away from our current times of like
right.
when they were to like. So we still have to kind of figure that out. And
I'm
then,
sure they'll science mumbo jumbo it or something, right?
I mean, isn't there? Do we not have a Mr. Fantastic in Earth 616? Like
We don't know. Usually there's one on every world, but we haven't been introduced to them. So.
I was gonna say most of these major characters, like there should be one, because even we saw in in Multiverse of Madness, like there were different, different multiverse,
different
different stranges, but there was also like different Thanos variants that were killed.
They still attacked and they had to like what the Illuminati took them out.
Yeah, but look, we had a Mr. Fantastic in that one, right?
Yep.
Somehow we didn't have a Captain America. We had Peggy Carter who took over for that instead, right? So I thought most of these there's a term for it.
Variant.
Maybe this was from another show. I think it was from another show of like key things that have to happen or whatever. I forget.
Oh, it's Across the Spider-Verse, canon events.
Yeah, like shouldn't it be like canon events or like canon people that are like have to happen in every certain thing? So I don't know. Like
we'll see. I'm assuming they'll have to bring up some of this stuff.
Did our Mr. Fantastic die? Did like maybe there was a space thing? Maybe they were on the Challenger, and
right.
I don't know, right? But like like the whole Fantastic Four should have happened in every universe, but didn't happen in ours somehow. So where are they? Don't know.
It could be something that prevented it from happening, and maybe that's something that post Secret Wars, when these universes merge, they'll be existing in our 616 or something, right? Like they'll find some way to do it.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong too. Wasn't there supposed to be a fifth trailer, but it was never either that was a lie or it was never released?
I think it was a fake leak saying that there'd be 5.
Because I remember hearing
it was originally supposed to be. There was rumors of 3, and then it's like
hearing these 4. These 4, like these 4 specifically, were the ones that I did hear about and were leaked. And then I thought I remember saying that there was supposed to be a 5th, where they wouldn't show Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom, but you would see Dr.
I read
Doom.
that. I read that, and I think it was fake because I think they're saving Downey for the real teaser trailer, or potentially the official trailer before the release. because I think they're going to want that to be like a big thing. That doesn't get like spoiled. These were spoiled a week out, because like they would play in theaters and they would release it the following week on social.
I think we're gonna see it during Spider-Man.
Like we could. I think that'd be you mean like during the movie or like a trailer before the movie?
A trailer before the movie. I don't think Doctor Doom's gonna pop up in
be.
Spider-Man. But
Yeah. I think that would be a safe bet. One of these Disney movies, either Mandalorian, Spider-Man.
I can see him doing Spider-Man because that's what, July?
Yeah.
When
And that'd be 5 months out.
When is Comic-Con? July,
Comic-Con
August?
will actually be mid-July.
So, and then when is D23?
Spider-Man's end of July.
Oh, so Comic-Con is before?
Yeah.
When is D23?
August sometime.
So I could see him doing it maybe during Spider-Man. And then D23, that's when you get more big stuff or whatever. Excuse me. And then
August 14th through the 16th is D23. So that'd be 2 weeks out after Spider-Man.
And I think that's enough time to get people to start talking about it and be like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And then you get more at D23 in some way, shape, or form about, what's going to happen. Because then now you're in August. Now you're literally like 4 months out. Your doomsday clock's going into overdrive.
Right.
And people are gonna want to, kind of get more. So those are just my thoughts.
All right. Anything else about Doomsday before we move on to Spider-Man?
Do you think we'll get any surprise characters or anything that they haven't really announced, or who do you think it could be? If
I'm kind of going in thinking I'm getting the 27 names on the chair plus Captain America, Steve Rogers. So I'm not disappointed if there's not more. I see a lot of things where people are like, Tobey Maguire's going to be in it, or like Tom Holland's going to be in it. He's not officially listed. I'm going to lean more towards we're just getting the names officially announced and Chris Evans. I'm sure there might be some little cameos or something, but like we have a very large cast as it is already. I can't see them adding too many more to this. Because then you do run the risk of like characters saying like one line and that's their line for the movie.
You just flew them over to England, paid them a crazy amount of money.
Yeah.
And it's going to turn into a day's worth of work, right? Because it's not just going to be, they got to shoot it multiple ways or figure out a day's worth of work just for like 30 seconds of screen time, and then he's gone.
Right. So we'll see. I think I think 27's enough. I know everybody wants to see everybody, but I'm like, I think we got a fine cast for this movie.
It's a lot of people.
It is. Okay. Let's talk Brand New Day, I guess. I have some screenshots I'll share on here. I have some theories I want to spout off here, but just give me your general thoughts on Spider-Man Brand New Day. The first Spider-Man movie in the MCU to not be directed by John Watts. It's going to be directed by Destin Daniel Cretton, who did Shang-Chi. So I guess give me your thoughts on what you saw.
Rough time for a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, right? He had to erase everybody's memory, so nobody remembers who he is. The woman he loves is out at MIT with what's his name?
Ned. Yeah.
Him or her and Ned are out at MIT doing MIT things. We see she's at least being hit on, if not involved, with another dude at some point during this trailer, right? Spider-Man is probably living in a very shitty New York City apartment.
Mm-hmm.
still doing friendly neighborhood Spider-Man things, but it's got to be depressing, dude. Oh my god, that's gotta like. I mean, he caused it. He had to have it happen. It had to happen. He caused it, right?
Right.
This is what you gotta do, but it's gotta suck. Um,
I mean, he gave them what they wanted. They were having trouble getting accepted to colleges because they were associated with him. So he had to do what he wanted to do to give them. It's like the ultimate, like, if you really love me, let me go type of thing. It's like,
yeah,
if you really love me, like, fix this, and then he does, and now he has to sit here and watch while she's, like you said, being hit on or in a relationship. And
and maybe it's just the way it was filmed, or obviously the way you can edit it in a trailer form. It looks like Mary Jane still might, MJ still might have a thing for him, or like there might still be something there,
yeah,
like, kind of deep down. So you've seen I Dream of Jeannie before, right?
yeah.
Barbara Eden, beautiful one, beautiful one. So at one point they did a movie in the 80s of like a follow on to the series. And part of it was Larry Hagman's character was still an astronaut, right? And he was in space and there was something bad happening and there was the chance that he wasn't going to be able to make it out, right? And very sad for everybody involved. But Jeannie, I guess, went to her gin and went to her Jeannie peoples and did what she could do to make him come back home, make so they survived coming back home. But in order to do that, kind of the same thing had to happen where she had to leave and they would not remember her, right?
Okay.
So she had to make that sacrifice and she did. But in the end, whatever town they were in, she was, they did a funny little thing where she's walking one way, right? And Larry Hagman's character is walking another way. And because now he's a single guy and he's by himself, right? So what's a great way to kind of show that he's single and he's on his own? His tie's crooked and it's not all up where it's right? So, but she's still a genie. So as she walks by, she smiles at him, says hello or whatever, and uses her genie powers, and all of a sudden his tie tightens back up, right? And that kind of gives him it shows like he stops in his tracks and he looks down and he realizes like this very beautiful woman just walked by him and like he kind of had that feeling. So like he turned around and went to go talk to her and kind of gave them a chance to start their story all over again.
Right.
It was like, I think, and it was one of those like where she said, like I had to lose him, but they didn't say I couldn't get him back or something,
Right.
whatever hokey thing they would say at the end of a TV movie or whatever like that, right? So I think this
something similar.
Yeah, because like I said, it could just be the way it was shot or the way it was edited, but or it could just be Mary Jane MJ was looking at a TV and was not necessarily looking at Spider-Man or whatever was on the TV, right? But I mean, those two kind of belong together, like MJ
Right.
and Spider-Man. Like, come on. So I don't know. Another one that's got to hurt, dude. He fought next to the Hulk. Okay, he fought alongside him, and he's got to go up to Bruce Banner, and he doesn't even know who he is.
Yeah, what's your name again?
That's got to sting too, because it's like Peter. So Banner remembers everything that happened except for Spider-Man. Like, and that's something that confuses me. Like, okay,
he remembers Spider-Man. He doesn't remember who Spider-Man was.
Okay, so maybe that makes sense because I was gonna say like. He like all of the blip and the snap and all this stuff happened like in this universe, like we know it did. So I don't know. Tough break for the kid, but hey, when you're Tom Holland, sometimes you gotta have those tough breaks because life's been going too good for you, and it's not cool.
Yeah, so I want to talk about this scene real quick. You mentioned it. I have a thought on it because this happens in the comics. So Brand New Day is a storyline in the comics that kind of plays off of what we got in No Way Home, where he makes a deal with Mephisto, gets that In the comics, it's Mephisto. It's not Doctor Strange doing a spell. And he makes everybody forget his identity after he outed himself in Civil War in the comic, etc., etc. They do this in the comic where Hulk runs into him and says, "What are you doing, Peter?" And Peter answers him, and then he says, "Wait, did you just call me Peter?" And he says, "You made everybody forget who you are. Banner forgot, but I don't forget," is what Hulk says. Okay. So this line in here from Banner saying, "What was your name again?" makes me think that might be set up that when he hulks out, we get the scene from
Hulk
the comic
remembers,
where he says Hulk remembers.
But
yeah.
And so now another thing, we see Banner as his regular self in this one, right? In Endgame, we saw him, like, what is it, Professor Hulk, Smart Hulk, whatever. I don't know the proper term. She-Hulk, which I loved. We watched. We did the pod on that.
That's another one we did.
he was he? What was he? Was he just a Hulk in there?
He was both. He did have his Professor Hulk persona in the first episode, I believe. But he also had, I think at the end of the show or one of these episodes, he had this wrist thing on here.
I was gonna ask as I was looking at that, what is that on his wrist right there?
And I think that can change where he's able to change back into his
his transformation between Hulk and Banner, or Smart Hulk and Banner and everything.
So I think maybe that thing might get broken during this, and it maybe makes him Hulk out.
Because one thing we know is the Hulk is always inside him, right?
Right.
It does kind of have its own thoughts and
it's its own person.
Yeah, so like he talked about, he tried to end his life, but when he tried to shoot himself, he ended up spitting the bullet out. Hulk wouldn't let it happen. So I did not know that version of a story, that there was something like this similar happened and Hulk knew who he was. That I think that is something that could definitely be the case here.
Yeah, because you can have it both.
That's the triggering event that gets him to be like, oh, and the wheels start turning in Hulk's mind.
And I'm thinking, like, look, it could just be a line to reinforce everybody that the Avengers don't remember. But I think having Hulk in this movie and having Banner in this movie and having Banner say in the movie he has no clue who this is perfect setup to do what a lot of people consider a very famous comic exchange. I see it posted a lot on stuff. So I'm thinking, why else have that line in there if you're not kind of teeing this up? But I mean, again, it could just be like for the audience, like, hey, remember, nobody remembers this. Yeah. So
we had to erase everybody's memory. Yeah. Didn't know that. We also there was a scene where, so I don't know anything about what happens with Spider-Man. Apparently his DNA is changing.
Mutating. Yeah, that's what Banner says. Like, you're mutating, and that's not good. I don't have screenshots of this, but yeah, he starts to like faint. He's like, what's going on with me? Yeah. Right? He faints. He wakes up, if it's the same scene. You don't know how these trailers are cut, but he wakes up pulling himself out of web and instinctively trying to use his web shooters.
And it's not,
he doesn't have them on. He falls, but somehow still catches himself. And this is leading people to think he is going to have biological webbing like Tobey Maguire did in this.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because when they did the one with all three of them, they talked about that, because he makes the web shooters in this Spider-Man iteration.
Right.
Tobey Maguire's came from his hand, or
came
naturally. I can't remember what happened with what's his names.
Andrew made web shooters as well.
But yeah, I remember Tobey Maguire was like you don't just grow it on your own or whatever, and like
right. Because they ask him like where else it comes out, or like what it comes out of, or like if it's the only place it comes out of or something.
Yeah, we know what he was getting at.
Yeah.
You nasty. But
But yeah, so I think a lot of people are thinking so again, Casey, this is something that's in the comics. There is an arc from like the 90s cartoon did it as well as the comics. I can't remember if it was a 90s comic or 80s comic, but I think it was 90s, where he does mutate into like the human spider, man spider type thing.
he's got like six arms or something like that.
6 arms. I used to have the toy of it. He had 6 arms. And I don't see them going the full way. I sent you the picture of it because you were asking me about it after you watched the trailer, but I don't see them going full like spider head and all that kind of stuff. I would assume maybe just the arms and like he's able to stop the mutation before it and reverse it. Like I don't know if we're gonna see like Tom Holland with a spider head crawling around on stuff. I don't know if they're going that.
They're not going to go Jeff Goldblum the Fly on us.
I don't think so.
Okay, I mean, I'd be up to see Tom Holland with a spider, some weird eyes. Like, yeah. I know there's been talk about people saying with the trailer as far as like there could be some like one of the scenes. It could be where there's this one that you're showing. Yeah, it looks like some of these ninjas are. There should be someone else in the scene.
Right, that they're fighting like down here.
Yeah.
Below him.
Yeah, there should be at least one other person, if not 2 other people or so in the scene. I don't know. I guess that I've seen the rumors that who is it? Sadie Sink might be in this.
Yeah, she is in the movie.
Well, she is in it, but she might be playing Jean Grey.
That is the rumor, which is a X-Men character who has so Jean Grey is actually my buddy Ron's like favorite Marvel character. So
Has Jean Grey and Spider-Man had link-ups or whatever before, or
not to this level. It is a little odd if they would introduce her here. That's kind of but she's one of the strongest mutants. She's a founding member of the X-Men. She has telepathic and telekinetic abilities. She became the Phoenix, the Dark Phoenix, in the Dark Phoenix arc, which they also did in the new movies as well.
I could see Sony like fighting off on that, like fighting back on that, just because like, yes, it is a Marvel character, but they have the rights to the film, right? So like it's been a fight to get Spider-Man in the MCU itself. And like as an MCU character in Avengers and various other things, remember one of them, like they were going to pull out or something, and like Tom Holland had to get involved himself.
It was after Far From Home. We thought that they were going to pull out. Yeah.
Right. So unless there was a lot of money that exchanged hands or some promises made, like why would they put in X-Men character for something that they like
won't have control over as much?
That's a lot of work and a lot of negotiations that has to happen, and a lot of money that probably has to exchange hands. That's what I'm saying. Like,
but I will say
it could happen. But what I'm saying is like that wasn't just like, hey, can we throw this Jean Grey in there?
So I'm a little torn on this. All right, if it's Jean Grey, if it's not Jean Grey, but like if I want it to be Jean Grey, like because the person that did Thunderbolts is making an X-Men movie. All right, and we think it's 2028. There's a few movies dated in 2028, and that's where we're kind of that's my guess would be that either one of the summer movies is going to be Black Panther 3, I would guess. One of them is going to be X-Men, and then there's like a fall movie or something, December movie. And we talked about it. Doomsday has X-Men in it from the Foxverse. I would like to not introduce any of the MCU X-Men until after all of that's done.
I can see that.
So I'm a little torn on it being Jean Grey because I'm like, all right, so like we're starting to introduce the X-Men at the same time that we're also saying goodbye to the original X-Men. It just seems a little messy.
Let me ask you this: where is the Professor X's school located?
New York.
It's located in New York. I see. I did
Yeah.
not know that. I wasn't sure.
Not in the city. I think
What,
it's
in New
on
York,
like
somewhere in New York
yeah.
State, like upstate or something? Okay. Um, where's Jean Grey like from? Does that matter? Or, like, is she prior
So
to her going to Professor or working at or going to
the
Professor
school,
X's
yeah.
school? Where it like
Hmm.
where her whereabouts? Where is she from? Where she live? Does that matter?
I don't know if it would matter. I don't know if they. I don't know if I can find this at the
I mean, I was
moment
just
here.
asking because like, is she like one of the characters that lives and is from New York City or something, right? Um, we had Daredevil just started back up, right?
Right. Right.
And Vincent D'Onofrio has made the comment of like Sony and Marvel need to pull their heads out their asses because he wants to have some interactions with Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And like, hey,
Okay. So
I'm
Jean
for it.
Grey was born and raised in a farmhouse in New York.
Okay.
So it tracks that she would be in New York.
So she might be local. So maybe if she's in there, it could be because she's ran away from. I don't know. I know a lot of the X-Men characters are like have been kicked out of their homes because they're
Yeah,
mutants,
because they're
or
mutants.
have
Yeah.
ran away because they're mutants, or stuff like that. So maybe like she's out on the streets. Like
Right.
I'm just maybe she's out on the streets in New York because she left the farm because her
Well, I think
powers are
she's on
starting
the.
to
So
or
I think
online.
I'm guessing she's the one who has her hands handcuffed in this trailer, and they kind of have like a little prison for her. I'm thinking the bad guys are going to be partly the Department of Damage Control, who have kind of been the villains in a lot of like the as a government agency type thing. Um, they're the ones that tried to arrest Peter during No Way Home. They pop up in Wonder Man. They were the facility that was holding like Abomination during She-Hulk and everything was that Department of Damage Control. So I could see. I believe they're in this movie from what I've seen, and I think they're probably chasing her or have her captured, and her goal is probably to get out and escape. And maybe the way she does that is this tank battle that we see here, because when Peter opens up the tank, it's an older lady driving this tank, and you kind of see like something move from her into one of the agents and then up the
Yeah.
catwalk to another person. And after I watched this trailer, I said, you know what? I think she's Jean Grey. If she can do, telepathic stuff, I'm thinking she's like moving between them,
From mind to
controlling
mind. Yeah.
to maybe it cause a distraction so she can get out, to lead people to her so she can get out. I don't know. Maybe she thinks if I can get Spidey's attention, he can come find me and break me out. Maybe she thinks, let me cause a distraction so I can get out. I don't know what her thought process would be, but
We do have the Punisher in here as well. So
yes. And I think maybe, he's chasing her because maybe he is either trying to help her or there's he's just one of the people that's responding to this runaway tank. I don't know how he's gonna play into it, but the more I seen that, and also with the constant theme in the trailer of you're mutating and the X-Men are mutants, I'm starting to think that it is Jean Grey, and they'll be able to bond over her being a mutant and Spidey becoming a mutant.
have they brought up the term, or have there been other mutants so far in the MCU since like Endgame and anything that I've missed?
Miss Marvel has a little tease.
Have they used
At
the
the
term
end,
mutants at all?
they use the term mutation, I believe, for
So
Miss Marvel.
they haven't gone full mutant like the X-Men yet.
Not yet. And that's what I'm thinking. If she's one of the founding members of the X-Men, like, this could lead her onto the doorstep of Charles Xavier, and you can kind of introduce her before she found Charles. And then in the movie for the X-Men, you have them come together as a team, and, you know, you'd be like, I remember her from Spider-Man, and that might get people to go see it. I loved her in Stranger Things. I'm going to go see this movie, you know, like.
So my curiosity might have just convinced you that this might actually be Jean Grey.
Well, I mean, I was kind of leaning that way after I watched the trailer. Originally, I was like, I hope it's not. I don't want it to be. But the more
I wasn't
stuff
trying
is adding up.
I wasn't trying to push you one way or another. Like, these are just
yeah.
legitimate questions I was asking. Like, hey,
I just think that the more I think about it, and the themes of what we're seeing in the trailer, to me, make me think it's very likely her. And I would also guess that she might take, like, if this thing on Hulk's hand breaks, she might take over the Hulk a bit, and you get a little Hulk Spidey fight with the Punisher. You know, like, without Hulk being a bad guy, it'd be almost like Age of Ultron, where he's kind of taken over by Wanda. Like, I think you could kind of do something like that. Oh, and then you can even have that once he comes, or like once she leaves, then he says something like, maybe Spider-Man's beating him up, and he's like, Peter, what are you doing? And then you can get that exchange. Yeah. And then it would let him know that he snapped out of it, you know, as well. So, like, you could do something like that, but it's very, very likely this is Jean Grey.
My next question is, who's the voice?
Keith David is the voice.
Who is he? Who is he? Is this like is he doing like a computer? You know what I'm saying? What character is he playing? Is this just a voiceover he might have recorded? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's just voiceover. I think somebody just pointed out that this is most likely. There was a leaked teaser back in December that happened, that then caused them to kind of change this trailer. And in that trailer, it's not very good quality, but Peter is watching a nature documentary on spiders.
Oh, so he was,
I think he's the narrator. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Because his whole talk is about the life cycles of a spider and how it can lead to rebirth. And I think it's maybe Peter trying to figure out, like, what's going on with me, because I'm trying to figure out, like, maybe it's before he goes and find Banner. He's like, let me watch this documentary to see if I can understand it, and then I can maybe go to him, you know.
Or maybe it's like going to be a documentary playing in the very beginning of the movie on a TV.
Could be.
Kind of just give to us, like, hey, the life cycle of a spider, blah, blah, blah. Which then will lead us into this whole story.
Could be.
I wasn't sure if he just had like a major role that they hadn't told us about yet, or because I mean, Keith David has a great voice. Don't get me wrong, but like getting him, like, usually you're not just going to get him for like a small part or for like a, you know.
Yeah. Okay, so I have a theory here that I wanted to share, because I think some people are maybe missing it in the sense of, we see Peter when he's jumping off the roof, right, and is depressed. He's watching TikToks of Ned and MJ, and Ned says, this is your first day at MIT.
So this isn't too long after
No Way Home.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to see, that might be one of the first scenes we see, and then we kind of get like a montage that catches us up on their lives. That might be where we see like Spidey get the key to the city and then watching it on the TV. Because MIT is 4 hours away from New York.
Yeah, and we see them like at a house party or something together.
Yeah, they're moved in across the street from Peter. So and at some point, we got to go forward like 4 years.
These are usually pretty decent about keeping somewhat current with the times. Not necessarily totally like, but
it's been 5 years. So
yeah, so they would have went to MIT
and already graduated,
and now they're and yeah, so that makes sense. And then not only that, but like the Spider-Man movies have been pretty good. Have been good to use a good montage in there.
And I think what we're going to get is this montage is because these scenes are shot very similarly in the sense of their style and what they're referring to. So we get to see this scene. If you're listening to it, it is the homage to Amazing Fantasy issue 15, which is Spider-Man's first appearance. This is the cover, Spider-Man carrying a guy. In this trailer, it's like slowed down. And then we also see like this, where he's fighting another guy. This is Tarantula. And this is another comic cover. And it's slowed down. And then we see him facing Boomerang. This is a very famous cover as well. Or like they take this cover and then they actually made a more famous pose right here that he's striking. And this is slowed down. So I'm thinking that like the montage might kind of catch us up on these like C tier villains he's facing,
in the
doing
last
his
couple of years.
yeah, and then like hitting that famous comic cover poses in the slow mo. Just because they were like filmed the same way, I'm thinking it's going to be part of like a thematic, like a thematic montage instead of like just random moments in the movie doing this. And I don't think like Boomerang and Tarantula are going to play big roles in this. I think we're going to focus on like the ninjas, which we think is the Hand. This is a comic. Marvel Comics has the Hand as like a ninja group.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
So is that why TMNT had the Foot Clan?
Yes. Yeah. So we have the Hand, and then I think we'll have Tombstone, which is going to be played by I don't have his name in front of me, but he was in Black Lightning, the CW show, as a bad guy as well. But I kind of think it's going to be like them trying to maybe protect Jean Grey from like the Department of Damage Control, on top of also having like maybe a gang war type of thing breaking out between like Tombstone's gang and maybe the Hand and some other gangs of New York. Kind of like the Spider-Man PS4 game where you're, in the middle of all of these gangs who are trying to get way in a like power vacuum type thing.
Especially considering this is probably around the time that Fisk is taking over as mayor.
I think this will actually be after he takes over as mayor, so that might be the power vacuum that kind of opens up.
So where maybe he's no longer mayor anymore, and that's where all this crazy stuff is happening.
Yeah, that would be my guess. That's just an idea I have, because I think what they've said kind of recently is like Daredevil season 2 will kind of be the wrap up of the Kingpin mayor stuff. So just kind of speculating on that, and the fact that like Spidey is not really worried about Kingpin being anti-vigilante as he's doing all this stuff. So I'm assuming it's going to be a little bit after.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I just really love these comic shot, like these comic book cover shots. They look cool. And I would love a montage that opens us up just like, here's what I've been doing for the last 5 years. I think more superhero movies should do that for villains that have, like, heroes that have such a deep roster on their villains, because you're not going to make a movie focused on Boomerang. You're not going to make a movie focused on Tarantula. So just kind of like throw them in as like little like side quests or montage villains that kick us off the movie and just show he's been doing stuff.
Okay, I'm up for it.
But yeah, so when I originally saw this trailer, I was a little disappointed overall, just in the sense of I'd seen the leak trailer already. A lot of the same stuff happens in this, so I wasn't like wowed. But the more I watched the trailer, the more I really kind of like fell in love with it and excited for it. Like I'm still excited for the movie. We also see Scorpion in here, which is he was in Homecoming and we kind of get a quick glimpse of him
Is
finally.
that the guy with the Doc Ock type arms?
Yeah, but it's like a tail. Yeah.
Okay, because I thought like that was gonna be Doc, like this universe's Doc Ock, and I was like, oh, that was something I was gonna ask about. Because we haven't seen him yet, have we? In this Spider-Man universe?
No,
other than Alfred Molina popping in, like.
Yeah, I don't think we will. Just from what I've read about like how Kevin Feige feels about those movies, is like he doesn't think anybody can top Alfred Molina and like William Dafoe, so he just doesn't really want to touch those again.
As the Green Goblin and Doc Ock.
Yeah.
I'd be okay with that. Like those,
which is a bummer a little bit for me, because I'd love to see like these iconic villains with my favorite like version of movie Spider-Man, but
it goes
kind of got it in
how many times are we going to see the Joker? Like,
yeah. Well, to be fair, we had one Green Goblin.
No, I get it, but like, what I'm saying, he did such a great job. Like,
yeah,
at some point, like, okay, let's like you said, they have such a deep roster. Maybe we can use some of these other people.
Right. So we'll see. I'm really excited for the movie. Spider-Man's my guy, so I'm very excited to see it on the. I think one thing that's helping. One thing we didn't touch on. This is the biggest trailer of all time. I don't know if you saw that, Casey, but like in the first like 24 hours, it had 700 million views, beating GTA 6 by like 200 million. And in like less than a week, it reached 1 billion views, which is the highest watched trailer of all time. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to lend itself to box office or anything like that, but it shows that people are still interested in this character, in this portrayal, and we're riding a high of No Way Home had almost $2 billion without China. So, and now you have a 5-year gap where maybe just the anticipation has been building so much that this might be like huge movie.
He is a universally beloved character.
Mm-hmm.
Spider-Man is, so he's definitely one of the ones that after the Infinity Saga can kind of still go out there and he still has drawing power.
Yeah. I was just surprised that it was such a highly watched trailer because, I think sometimes when you're too online, like I am, I get to see a lot of posts of people who really hate the Tom Holland Spider-Man, and they keep saying how much better Tobey is and Andrew is. And they try to say stuff like, the only reason that movie did so well is because Tobey and Andrew came back. But the fact that so many people watch this means that there are a lot of people that really like the Tom Holland Spider-Man, the MCU Spider-Man, and they are, like frothing at the mouth, it seems, to get a look at the next movie of him. So it's very well received trailer online too. I see a lot of praise for it. So my initial disappointments aside, I was in the minority on that, but everybody else seems to really dig it and can't wait for this movie. All right. Anything that we didn't touch on that you wanted to talk about, or questions for me before we?
No. That's pretty much about it for me, rambling about random comic book nerdy things.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to get into it. I can't wait to get your thoughts on.
I don't know why I thought it was next year. I thought it was next summer. I didn't think it was.
Maybe because the Doomsday trailers came out first for a movie further away. That you're like, oh, this got to be later.
I even thought that one was like next year, but
oh no, yeah, it's rapidly approaching. We're almost 3 months away from Spider-Man, or 4 months away from Spider-Man, and then not 8 months and whatever days when I just looked at the countdown.
I will say I'm very glad that they have slowed down their production schedules and opened up the calendars a little more.
It feels like we're actually building. Yeah.
Instead of trying to fit 4 movies and like 3 or 4 TV shows into a year, like I think they've realized, and I've used the term, and even Kevin Feige has too, like you're giving people too much homework to do, and they don't have the time or the mental capacity to really sit down and keep all this stuff in there outside of the like really hardcore fans. The average person has too much going on in their life to sit down for a 12-week TV show in a movie, and then another 12-week TV show, and then a secondary movie before you get to the next Avengers movie. That's a lot.
Yeah, I'm somebody that watches everything and the day it drops, essentially, as much as I can. But one thing I really liked about the Infinity Saga was being able, before each movie, I would do a rewatch, right? And I would just watch them all before the next movie and be like, all right, it helped me keep fresh on all of the info and stuff. Once you started throwing in the Disney Plus series and, all of this kind of stuff, it became, I haven't had time to do a full rewatch and that's what I'm trying to do before Doomsday. I haven't started it yet, but I really want to start on it soon so I give myself enough time with a toddler and everything.
But how far back are you trying to go? Are you trying to do the X-Men movies as well and add those into it?
I'm being maybe a little too ambitious. I wanted to watch every single Marvel movie ever made. So I don't think I'm getting to that, but I'm definitely going to watch the X-Men because my wife has not seen those, and I need her to know what's going on. Not that they're going to look, at most it's going to be little references probably, and the main thing is I want her to know who these characters are. Like Cyclops, played by James Marsden, I want you to know what he's like, even though he may not act fully the same way, because they're probably going to do it a little bit more accurate. He's wearing the comic suit and everything, but I want her to just have familiarity with it. And I want to refamiliarize myself with a lot of that stuff. So I'm going to watch at least the X-Men, the Spider-Mans, and then the MCU stuff before Doomsday. But I even want to watch the Ben Affleck Daredevil. I want to watch that stuff. The Nick Cage Ghost Rider. I'm kind of I just want to watch it all because it's been a while since I've seen some of this stuff.
You're a better man than me, sir. Better man than me.
All right. Well, I guess that'll wrap us up here at Supes and Sabers on all of our social medias for if you want to reach out to us about anything theory-wise about these trailers. I know these trailers are kind of old at this point, but thought it'd be good to still touch on them at this point and look forward to Doomsday. I'm very excited for the movie. I have faith in it. I know a lot of people don't have faith in it, but it's the Russos. It's RDJ. It's Chris Evans. They know there's a lot at stake here if they get it wrong. So I feel like they know they have to get it right. So I feel pretty positive. Okay, well, thank you all for watching and listening along with us. We'll catch you next time. I got Daredevil Born Again Season 2 discussions coming later this week, so make sure you check those out. We'll catch you next time.